see.
You can look through here.
No, that's
It's on, I just gonna close this a tiny bit, a little bit of light coming in. That makes it a little bright on the
Do you want me
camera.
to close the drape up?
No, this is gonna be just fine like this.
I think if you turn them the other way, you would.
I think that's gonna be perfect right there. That looks nice. Yeah, he looks good. There. One more. You can keep an eye on everything that's going on from here, right? Everybody going by?
Oh yes, so yeah. And there's not much traffic today, but my. As a rule, the traffic is terrific here on this.
When is the traffic bad?
Well, all day and all night
Is
it has
it?
been, but they've laid off. They laid off one whole shift here, you know. They laid off 80 men in the mill,
I heard that.
and all the traffic was going here day and night. Trucks,
Yeah.
right steady.
Did you know, do you ever know Scott Perry from Freeport?
God, well, yeah.
Well, when
I
Andy,
don't know him personally. I know all of
you
him.
know who he was, yeah,
Yeah,
on Lover's Lane there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, on Lover's Lane there, I used to have a cousin, distant cousin lived there, old McNeil, the McNeils.
Sure. Blair McNeil is still there.
Yeah,
He comes down every summer. He's
Yeah,
a very
yeah,
good friend
yeah,
of ours.
yeah.
That would be Alton's son.
yeah, all Ben Campbell, old Ben Campbell, that would be Alton McNeil's wife.
Yes, okay.
It
Yes,
would
yes,
be her
that's
father. It would be her father.
That's right, Viola her name.
He was a cousin, second cousin to my father.
Aha.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Is
kind
it
of
a
related.
recording?
It's recording, yeah.
Is it
That's
a
fine.
recording? Well, you're going to have a recording.
That's what we want. That's what we're here for.
I'd like to hear that recording, too.
Yeah, sure. You bet. It'll probably be too long to play back today, but we'll certainly make one for you if you
We'll
like.
probably have a copy.
What we do also is transcribe them verbatim. We make, we sit and type everything that everybody says, and it ends up generally, depending how long the interview goes, between 30 pages and 40 pages. But they're very interesting,
I suppose. Yeah.
What will this
But,
interview will be one of about 50 or 60 that we're doing from Westport right to Bear River back to Riverdale with older people, and it'll be on videotape and audio tape, and it's going to be on the web, internet, and also they're going to make a CD-ROM, and it's for high school students to study local history. So it'd be wonderful, yeah. And for instance, the way it'll be set up, if someone goes to the internet and say I'm talking about fires, if they're interested in fires, they could just click on fire, and your interview, or at least the sections about fires, will come up. Maybe somebody in Freeport remembers a fire, the school burning. Yeah, so it'll be.
It would be interesting for somebody.
Oh, for lots of people. Yeah.
I'll let you do your work.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll start with the very basics, Kip, and I need to know what your full name is.
Clifford Edward Campbell.
And how did you come to be known as Kip?
I don't know. His nickname, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no story associated with it.
No, none whatsoever. No.
Okay. And what were your parents' names?
No. Wolford Campbell,
Right.
and my mother was Charlotte Campbell, or Charlotte.
And what was your mom's maiden name?
Lawrence,
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Right. Where was she from? Where her parents?
She was from here, from Weymouth, yeah.
Okay. And what year were you born?
1911,
And where were you born?
here in Weymouth,
And where in Weymouth were you born?
right down in the village.
In your family home?
No, we were renting.
Okay, but you weren't born in a hospital?
Oh no.
No.
Oh no, I was born.
Okay. And what was your father's parents' name?
Edward Campbell,
Right.
and my grandmother's name was Hattie.
Addie?
Hattie.
Hattie. Okay.
Yeah.
And did you say your grandfather was from Freeport?
Well, they were, yes, he was originally from Freeport, but
Oh.
they moved to Digby. They were from Digby. They've been in Digby as long as I can remember.
Okay. And did you tell me what your grandmother's maiden name was? I forget. Hattie's last name was?
I'm not sure.
No.
I'm not sure what. Oh, she was a Campbell.
Okay.
It was a Campbell, married a Campbell.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He was from down Freeport, and she was from Cloden.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, they were both Campbells.
Right. And your mother's parents' names? Do you remember what they were?
William Lawrence was my grandfather.
Right.
He was from Maine.
Okay.
And my grandmother's name was, she was a Miro.
Okay.
Mary Ann.
Mary Ann Amiro. Yeah. And how did she spell Amiro?
A-M-E-R-O.
Okay. Because there's a few different ways, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That was the old original spelling of Amiro,
Oh, is that so?
as far as I know.
Uh-huh. Okay. Now, how large was your family?
It was five, three boys and two girls.
And where were you in that?
Second.
You were the second oldest?
Number two.
Right. Okay. And what did your father do for a living, Kip?
Well, he came down here from Digby, and he worked in the livery stable for Bub Hankson.
Mm-hmm.
Bub, Eliza, his name was, his nickname was Bub
Yeah.
Hankinson. He'd be a brother to, Ken Hankson's father, George Hankson.
Okay.
Yeah. And he had a livery stable, where it'd be like driving taxi today.
Yeah.
With horses. Yeah.
How many horses would they keep in that stable? Do you remember?
2, 4, 6. I think there's about 6 horses. Something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember that yourself?
Oh yes.
You do?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, would there have been anything like a, not a Pony Express, but did they also change horses here in
Oh
Weymouth?
no, they wouldn't. They would just drive taxi. Them days, the commercial travelers used to travel by train.
Yeah, okay, yes.
And they'd put up at the hotel.
Right.
Then they'd hire a horse and team and a driver to drive them to the stores down the shore,
Right.
like Church Point or Belvis Cove or Weymouth North or whatever, just.
And would your father be one of the drivers?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did he ever take you along on one?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Where were those travelers coming from, the commercial travelers?
Oh well, I really don't know
No.
where they came from, but they were traveling for firms, that sold goods,
Yeah.
dry goods, groceries or whatever,
Right. Now, someone mentioned to us Harold Cromwell, back at Weymouth Falls,
Mm-hmm.
told us about the commercial travelers coming to the Goodwin Hotel,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a sample room.
That's right.
Yeah, what do you remember about the sample
Well, they had, it was a long building, and they had tables all set out there, and the travelers would come on the train, and they'd have all their trunks, and there were all their samples in these trunks, They'd take them all to the sample room, and they'd open them up and put the stuff all out on the tables to display,
Yeah.
And then a lot of the merchants would come, and they'd pick out what they wanted,
Right.
and put their order in, that
Okay.
type of thing.
Pretty efficient way of doing it, eh?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
But that was not for the general public to come and pick up.
Oh no.
No.
Oh no. Just the retailers
Yeah.
or wholesalers. Whatever.
Where were you living at this point?
Straight down the village.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said your father rented that house?
Mm.
Right. Did he ever?
We lived there till 1928.
Okay.
1928 we bought a house up down towards Weymouth North, up on the other road then.
Alrighty. Okay. Now, you probably started school when you were about 6 years old, I guess.
8 years old when I
Why?
started school.
How come?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Was that unusual in those days? To wait till you were 8?
No,
No?
I don't know.
I'm on it on the phone?
There's a phone right back here
Okay,
there.
I'll just pause this for a second.
Yeah.
There, I think we're rolling again. Okay, so we were talking about starting school at age 8. Where did you go to school?
Weymouth. Weymouth School, yeah.
And what was that school like?
Well, it was a 4-room school,
Oh?
you know.
Yeah.
It was like grade in the primary department. There was from grade primary up to grade 3,
Right.
and then intermediate was 4 to 8.
Okay.
They only used 3 rooms most of the time,
Oh,
and the high school was from 9 to 12.
okay. To 12, okay.
Yeah.
And where was that school located?
Right where the fire hall is there now.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, on that lot there, this side, the Legion there.
Right. So you would walk to school, of course.
Oh yeah, oh yes. There was no buses in them days.
No. And Dad wasn't going to hook up a team of horses for you.
No.
How far did you go in school?
I only went to grade halfway through 8.
Is that so? Yeah. And do you remember why you left?
Yeah, but I think maybe I better keep that quiet.
We've probably heard worse.
Well, no, just teacher and I didn't get along.
I've heard that before too.
When you're 16 years old, you know, you think you know it all, and nobody can tell you anything.
Yeah.
Things just happened.
So what did you do then?
Well, I went out west, out Saskatchewan, harvesting.
What were you having?
I had my 17th birthday out there.
Uh-huh.
Just wheat, harvesting the wheat. Came back, and I went to work in a service station. And I worked there till the Depression hit, and then from then on, a young single fella couldn't buy a job. There was no work.
Really?
No job, no.
Oh.
There was no work at all.
Go back to going out to Saskatchewan. How did you get out to Saskatchewan?
By train.
And who did you go with?
Oh, there was quite a few young fellas from here that went out.
And why did you decide to go out west?
Well, it was just the last, they put on an excursion.
Right.
They used to have an excursion every fall to go out there. The farmers needed help, you know. And the pay was good for that time of year for them. You know, you got $4 a day stooking, $5 a day thrashing. You know, that was good pay to young fellas those days.
Yeah. How long would it take you to get from Weymouth to Saskatchewan?
5 days and 4 nights.
Yeah. What do you remember about that trip out?
Oh, it was just, there wasn't much to remember. It was just riding steady on the train all the time, you know. You didn't have a chance to get off at all.
What would you do for food on the way
Oh,
out?
you took a basket of food with you.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, what was stooking?
Well, stooking is picking, they cut the wheat with what they called binders, and then it would cut it and bundle it up, tie it in bundles, and drop it on the ground, and you had to come along and pick it up and stand it on the end, and the wheat up in the air so it would dry, you see.
Right.
And that's the way they would dry it. And after it would dry, then they would thrash it. They come along with thrashing machines and thrash it.
Would they throw the whole bundle into the thrashing machine?
Oh yes.
Yes,
Oh
okay.
yeah. Oh yes. Yeah.
And did you call those a stook of grain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they were.
And they would just stand up by themselves?
Well, yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the stubble, the bottom of the stoop, you know, where it was caught, there would be this high, you know, you stand it up in that.
Okay. Yeah. Was that dangerous work?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no. Just long, hard work.
Was it hard work? Yeah.
You worked, well, you worked, what, 10 hours a day stooping.
Yeah.
Thrashing, we used to get up 3 o'clock in the morning, have our team ready to get out on the field by 4.
Wow.
And they'd bring your lunch out. They'd bring your lunch out at like 10 o'clock, and another one at noon, another one 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you come in at 7 o'clock at night out of the field.
Yes.
You know.
And how long would that last?
Oh, probably a couple of weeks,
Yes.
something like that.
Uh-huh.
Maybe longer, 3 weeks.
Right. And then you just got back on the train and came back to
Come
Nova
back,
Scotia?
training.
Really? Quite an adventure for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
How many times did you do that trip?
So that was the last excursion that they had. 1928 was the last excursion out west.
Wow.
Yeah. From St. John.
Okay.
The excursion used to be from St. John. That was the last excursion from St. John.
What ended them?
Combines.
Really? Yeah.
There was 15 men on the outfit I worked on, and now 2 men does that same job
And that happened that quickly?
with a combine. Well, combines were just coming in then, the year I was out there. They
Right.
just- yeah,
So that would have been 1928.
1928.
So you came back right at the start of the Depression then.
Yeah.
And now,
Well-
I've talked to a lot of people that have said they didn't find the Depression particularly hard here, but you did.
Well, it depend on who you were, you
Yeah.
know. Depend on your circumstances more than anything else. Like, like Betty's people, she lived on a farm,
Right.
and her father owned timberland and stuff like that. And he could go in the woods and cut a few logs and buy what flour and sugar or whatever he needed, and the rest of it they had his own beef and his own
Yeah.
vegetables and everything. They didn't even know the Depression on.
Yeah.
But to people like myself and a good many others that didn't have that, you know, well, they found it tough.
Yeah. So what do you remember about the Depression? Did you spend it in Weymouth the whole time?
Yeah.
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 And how did it affect the community?
Well, it affected everybody pretty much the same. I mean, everybody found it pretty tough, you know, because there was no money and there was no work. This was the problem.
Who was the major employer in Weymouth at that point?
I would say George Hankson
He was the lumberman.
yeah.
Yeah. And do you have any idea how many people he would have employed before the Depression?
No.
No.
No, because he had mills in the woods. He had men cutting in the woods and stuff like that, you know, that I would know nothing about.
Right. But he was a major employer.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Actually, he was just about the only employer.
Is that so? Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you manage to get through the Depression? Were you living at home still?
Living at home.
Yes.
Yeah. We had it tough. I mean, we were poor,
Yes.
as poor as they could be.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't easy, but we pulled through.
Yes. What kind of little odd jobs would you get? Can you remember it all? Or?
Well, not really.
No.
Whatever job you could get a hold of.
Mm-hmm. And when you were a young person growing up here, how often would you get out of Weymouth?
Not very often.
No.
Not very often. No, we just played a lot of baseball in the summer and hockey in the winter.
Is that so? Yeah.
Well, that's all we had to do.
Yeah. Was there a movie theater in Weymouth in those days?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Where was that?
It's down where Ken Hankson showroom is now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember any of the movies you would have seen at that point?
Oh, I suppose, yeah. Charlie Chaplin
Yes.
and a few like that.
But as far as buying anything you needed, you could get it right here in Weymouth in those days?
Oh yes. Weymouth was a much larger place than it is today.
Is that so?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Paint me a
We've
picture of
had-
Weymouth in 1925, say. What would it have looked like?
In 1925,
Yeah.
well, I could show you one. I could show you one from like 1910,
Oh, really? Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the main
but
street?
there was stores on both sides of the street all the
Is
way
that
right
so?
through. Oh yes.
Yeah.
All dry goods stores and grocery stores and and tinsmiths and restaurants and all the stuff was all.
Oh,
It was
this is a silly question, but what did the tinsmith do?
well, he made stovepipes and whatever you wanted, something made in tin, he could make it.
Yeah.
And blacksmith shops. There was 2 blacksmith shops going,
Yeah.
shoeing horses and cattle and
Mm-hmm.
making ironwork and stuff like that, No, Weymouth was quite a spot at them days.
It was a big shipping port, too.
It
wasn't
was.
What do you remember about that, about going down to the waterfront?
Oh, lots of ships in. All the wharves full of 3-masted schooners,
Really?
Boats, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What kind of goods would they be
And,
carrying?
lumber.
Okay,
Exporting lumber to the States and the West Indies.
right. Now, would they bring back cargo from the West?
They would bring back salt and coal and stuff like that,
Right. Would they be foreign sailors on those boats?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not foreign. They would be Nova Scotians, The vessels would be mostly Nova Scotia boats, and there would be Nova Scotian sailors on them. I went to sea on them, on
You did?
on 3-masted schooners, yeah.
Now tell me about that.
Well, there's much to tell, just
You don't think so. I'm
Yeah.
fascinated.
you just ate sour bread and sour beans and $18 a month. Well, not too much to remember about it.
Where did you go?
It's the States mostly.
How many voyages did you take?
Oh, let me see. I was on 2 different. I was on the Daniel Getson and on the E.P. Terrio. 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5. 5 voyages, I think.
And how old were you at that point?
Around, 19, I guess?
Yeah.
19, 20.
And what was your job?
On the boat,
Yeah.
just a sailor, just a plain sailor.
But would you
So
have
the-
to handle the rigging and stuff?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
How did you
You only had a captain and a mate and a cook and 3 sailors. You see,
Wow.
that's all you had. So the sailors had to do the work,
Yeah.
whatever there was to do.
Where did you learn to do that?
Aboard the boat. You started out as a greenhorn and
Yeah.
learned as you went around.
Yeah. Now you mentioned on the phone the other day that you worked in service stations.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you start doing that kind of work?
Well, I started on Captain Moore's down in Weymouth there. That'd be where the drugstore is there now. There
Yeah.
was a big service station there. Started there. I was there in 1929.
Okay.
I was there working there when the big fire. They had the big fire in Weymouth.
Yes. What do you remember about that?
Well, don't remember too much of it. I tried to work along with the rest of them, putting the fire out. That's about all you can remember.
How did it start?
I don't really know, but they always said it started in one of the stores there. There was a little party in the office, I guess, quite late at night, and
Right.
somebody must have thrown the match or a cigarette or something in a waste paper basket.
Right.
So they claim the cigarette butt with some. I would imagine they were drinking. I don't know, but anyway, that's where it started in that store.
What time of year was that?
That was in, I believe it was in October. Was it latter part of October? Might have been November. No, I think it was October, I believe.
Right.
It was in the fall, late in the fall.
And how was the village organized to deal with the fire?
Well, they weren't too well organized. They had organized the fire department in I think 1926. But they hadn't had too much practice, or
Right.
they didn't have too much organizations either. They had a fire chief and that's a few volunteer fighters. And that was just about it.
Were you part of the volunteer fire department?
Yeah. Well, not at that time, no. I was later on, in later years. I was on the fire department for 17 years.
Oh, were you? Yeah. So was that a major fire?
Yes, it was. Well, hello.
I knew we had a star in the family.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Did you want to say hi to him?
No.
No.
No, he's here all the time.
Yeah, is that a family member?
That's her nephew.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was just asking about the fire and how much damage it did.
Well, it did a lot of damage. It took, I think it was 21 buildings
Wow.
on both sides of the street.
Oh.
And all up the hill there, all the way up this side on the hill there. All big buildings. Like I'll show you some pictures there
Yeah.
of the before the fire.
Yeah.
And what they say was I think it was $250,000 damage. They said at that time. Of course, that was about a lot of money.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think it was $250,000, something like that.
What did people do for insurance in those days?
I have no idea.
No.
They didn't. There was some had little insurance, I guess, but there wasn't too much insurance.
Oh. That really devastated the business section.
Oh well, Weymouth has never bounced back from it.
No, eh? No.
And then they had another big fire in '59. They had another fire,
When you say it hasn't bounced back, you mean some businesses just didn't bother to reopen? Yes.
They've had 2 fires since that.
Do you remember that fire? You must remember the
Oh
night.
yeah, oh yes.
What did it look like?
Well,
Right now.
it wasn't very pleasant, I know that. We had a pumper which wouldn't go.
How come?
Well, it wouldn't start. Couldn't start it.
Okay.
And Digby sent down a truck with a bunch of hose on, one where the hydrants were to hook onto,
Okay.
which was something we didn't have, of course.
Right.
And the Lands and Forest Ranger, he had his little pumper. He's the only one that pumped any water at all till the Armies got up here with a big pumper.
Huh.
And they soon got it under control.
How much later was that?
I suppose that it was probably close to noon by that time.
Right.
When the fire had started early in the morning,
Yeah. Were there any fatalities in that fire?
No,
No. Okay.
no.
So when you started working for the service station, I imagine cars were still pretty much a luxury item, were they? Or?
Yes, yeah, but there was, they were cheap.
Yes.
Oh yes, you could buy at that time you could buy a new Chev or a Ford or a Plymouth for $1,000 or less.
Yes. But we're talking about the start of the Depression here at the same time,
Yeah,
are we?
yeah.
So I suppose a lot of people didn't have the money for that.
I don't know. Well, $1,000 is a lot of money them days.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So how did you, now who was your employer?
Well, my first service station was Captain Moore, Captain Arthur Moore.
Okay.
Mm.
And what was your job at that point?
Oh, driving a little taxi and tending the pumps and working around the service station, you know.
Right.
He also did repair work, but I wasn't I wasn't involved in the mechanical end of it.
Right.
Same as there was the garage down here in the corner, the other side of the corner where Foodland is. There used to be a garage there. I worked there for 14 years with him.
Oh, who was that?
But Denny Terrio,
Okay.
Terrio's garage.
Mm-hmm.
And but I wasn't involved in the mechanical
Right.
end of it.
Who sold you your gas?
Urban Imperial Oil down here,
Imperial Oil.
SO.
Okay. And how would they deliver it?
In tanks, like they do now.
Same as they do now. Yeah. Do you remember what it cost for a gallon of gas when you first started?
Oh, it was 28, 30 cents, something like that.
You right? Yeah. Big change.
A gallon.
Yes. So when did you get your first car?
Oh my. I never got a car till what, about 1955, I suppose.
Okay, yeah. And what was that?
It was a Plymouth.
Right.
Yeah.
Where did you go to buy that?
Second-handed.
Yeah.
Bought it, where did I buy that from? I don't remember who I bought that
Right.
from. I know whose car it was before I owned it, but I don't remember where I bought it.
Right. Yeah. Who owned it before you did?
Father Camo, he was a priest.
Oh.
Yeah,
That must have been a nice clean car.
it was.
Yeah.
It was a nice car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was well kept, you know.
Where was Father Camo from? Down the French Shores?
He was a local priest here,
Oh.
but he was from Matagan.
Right.
You know.
So you spent your whole working life, except for the harvest excursion, you worked all your life in Weymouth there, did you?
Well, I worked for about 3 years in the States.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
East Boston. I worked on a boat in Boston Harbor, but I was living in East Boston.
Right. When you say you worked on a boat, what do you mean?
Taking fishing parties out, you know, and parties out and like that, you know.
Yeah. When was that?
That was in 1960.
Right.
I went over there. And then I stayed there about a year there, and then I didn't like that. Kind of rough. East Boston is a pretty rough spot,
Is that? Yeah.
and kind of rough for a little country boy.
Yeah.
So I moved out of there and went up to Lynn. I lived in Lynn for a couple of years. There I got a job with a contractor, painting houses and shingle roofs and whatever.
Right. Okay.
Just a general contractor, you know, just.
Why did you move to the States? Did you have relatives there? Or?
No, I had no more work here.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, I ran out of work here.
Yeah. Did you have a family at that point, Kip?
And I never had any family.
No.
We've never had any family.
Right. So you were a little freer to move then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, the wife's mother. The wife took care of her mother
Yes.
here, and she was with us close to 20 years. But she was bedridden the last 7 years.
Oh, yeah.
And at that time, she stayed home taking care of her mother, and I went over there to work.
Right. Yeah. And why did you decide to move back to Weymouth then?
Well, I don't know. All of a sudden one day, I just started thinking, what was I doing over there?
Yeah.
My wife was here, my home was here, everything I worked for all my life was here. What was I doing over there all alone?
Yeah.
So I packed up and come home.
Good move, right? You were still young to retire at that point, though.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yes. I was in my 50s.
Yeah.
Just starting the 50s, early 50s.
Right. So what did you do after that?
Came home and went in the painting business, painting houses.
Oh, did you? Yeah. And was there enough work in this area to keep you pretty busy?
Oh yes. Oh,
Yeah.
heaven, yeah. Well, I started working for different painters, you know.
Right.
Different contractors.
Now, I know you didn't work in the mills, but I'm
No.
just curious. There's a black community back Weymouth Falls, right? And most of those people worked in the mills, didn't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
I would think they did, most of them, yeah.
Do you remember when you were growing up, were there difficult relations between the blacks and the whites, or was it?
Not in my days, no.
No.
But before my days, they were.
Oh, is that so?
They used to, the people before me, I think I've heard that they had they didn't get along with the black community very well. They tell me that they used to run them right out of Weymouth altogether. They didn't allow the black people in town after 6 o'clock at night. But that's hearsay, you
Yeah.
know. But we never had, in my day, we never had any problem with the black people.
No.
I knew all the young men up at my age, you know what I mean, and we always got along well with all of them.
Right.
Yeah,
Do you remember, everybody of course has read this book, Electric City now.
that's right.
Do you remember the Stalins at all?
Oh yes.
Yeah?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
What do you remember about them?
Well, I remember him and her, the old man and
Yeah.
the old lady, when they moved out from New France.
Yeah.
And they moved here to Weymouth, and they lived in the house right across from the school. That was the old Blacks Hotel
Oh, really?
building, yeah.
Is that building still there?
No,
No.
that's where Bell, you know,
Oh,
Bell,
yes.
but you know where he lives? It'll be right there where he
Okay.
lives. Yeah. On that Y going up.
Yes.
Yeah. One road goes up by the Legion, and the other one goes up Weymouth North.
Right.
Well, that big white house there, it was there on that lot. They moved out there, and they stayed there. Oh, we were going to school at the time. That's why I remember them.
Right.
And they were there a year or so, and then they moved down to the Goodwin Hotel, and they stayed at the Goodwin Hotel after that.
I see.
And I remember, well, Louis. I remember Louis Stelline and Simon, his sister, and Morris Stelline, and I remember most of the boys, you know.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
They would have been a bit older than you, I suppose.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yes, quite a bit.
Right.
The author of the book,
Yes.
Paul, him and I were about the same age.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you
I knew Paul too.
Okay.
You know, I knew him through playing baseball.
All right.
He played for Church Point. He was from Church Point, and he played for Church Point, and I played for Weymouth. So you know,
So, did you have a real organized baseball team here in Weymouth?
oh yeah.
You did,
oh,
eh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. With uniforms and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We used to have a league. Freeport used to have a ball team too.
Yeah.
We used to play against them.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
How would you get all the way to Freeport?
On the back of a truck.
Did you?
That's the way we traveled, on the back of a truck.
Yeah. That'd be quite a trip in those days, all the way to down the neck.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. But that's the only way we had to travel.
Yeah.
Nobody had any cars.
No.
None of the young people had a car.
No.
Couldn't afford it.
Now you pronounce the last name Stelline?
Stelline, yeah.
That's how they said it.
Yeah, yeah.
What else did I want to ask you? Too many questions. How are you doing? Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Don't want to wear you out. When you were growing up, your mom worked just in the home, of course, raising her family, right?
My mother, yes.
Yeah. Would she have kept animals or a little garden or anything?
No,
No.
no, we didn't have
No.
we had no garden, no animals.
No.
We had animals after we moved out of Weymouth.
Did you? Yeah.
They had always had a cow and hens and stuff like that.
Yes. Okay.
But while we lived down in the village, of course, I mean, you had nowhere to keep animals or anything else.
For sure.
No,
You were right in town.
Yeah.
Yeah. How important was religion in your family when you were a little boy?
Well, my father was Protestant, my mother was Catholic.
Oh.
So it was, it wasn't something that, it wasn't something that really seemed to amount to too much at the time,
Right.
But we were all brought up Catholic.
Yes. You know, in those days, that would be a big deal for a Catholic to marry a Protestant, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it was, especially like my father was a Baptist,
Yeah.
and
Do you remember, did either side of the family give that couple a hard time because of that?
not really,
No.
not really. Of course, you see, I suppose if we'd have been close to my grandparents, there would have been a little friction, but
Yeah.
we were 20 miles away, and they had no car, and we had no car. There was no way of getting in. Dad used to go up and see his mother once in a while on the train, something like that, or a bus.
Yeah.
Outside of that way. So there never was any big friction.
Right. Interesting when you think 20 miles was such a journey in those days.
It certainly was.
Yeah. Now it would be right next door practically, yeah?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Did you have any need for medical care as a young boy that you can remember?
No,
No.
no.
If you did, where would you have gone?
Well, we had 2 doctors here in Weymouth.
2. Yeah.
Oh yes. I had 3 at one time. And a dentist, and
Oh.
we had a dentist and doctor, and we used to have everything we needed. Now we don't have anything.
Yeah.
Well, we have one good doctor, one very good doctor.
Good.
Dr. Felix was, he's a good doctor, all right, but I mean, he's crippled up. He can't move around much. He can't get out hardly.
Yeah. Right.
But Dr. Westbury is top notch.
That's so. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So how long, you had a dentist right here in the village.
Oh, yes.
How often would you?
We had 2 dentists. Dr. Hogan was a dentist, and Dr. Cormier was a dentist.
Wow.
And we always had a dentist. And there was a Dr. Felix Camo was a dentist here in Weymouth one time. Oh yes, we always had.
So how would you take care of your teeth as a young boy?
We couldn't afford to, unless we had to have one hauled out or something
Yeah.
like that.
Right. But was there like daily brushing like we do now?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yes, oh yes, oh
Okay.
yes.
Nothing new about that.
No.
No. And you already told me you wouldn't leave here very often. Did you ever take one of the boats over to St. John at all? Across the bay?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Not not really young, no,
No.
not like during the Depression, but I mean in later years, yes.
Yeah. Okay. How did you meet Betty?
Well, she came up. She's from Church Point.
Okay.
Her home's in Church Point, and she came up here working for her family, some family, and we met, and
The rest is history.
everything seemed to work out all right.
Yeah. What was Betty's maiden name?
Tebow.
Akibo.
Yeah, that was 61 years ago.
Well, congratulations. My goodness.
Be 61 years the 28th of this month.
Very good. Yeah. You don't come across that very often anymore, do you?
No, you
Yeah.
certainly don't.
Where did you get married?
Church Point.
Did you? In a church?
Mhm.
Yes. Was that a large ceremony?
No, no,
No.
oh no.
I don't think I've met one person who had a big ceremony, you know?
That's so.
Yeah, they just say they
Yeah.
might have had a brother and a sister stand for them, and yeah. What was your salary when you started working in the garage?
I hate to tell you that.
Yeah,
$3 a week.
really. Now, was that an average salary in those days?
I don't think so. No.
It was low even then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When you were, a young adult, and all the years that you worked, how did you plan for your retirement?
Never thought of it.
You didn't, eh? No?
Never ever thought of it. Never made enough money to plan for it.
Right. Yeah. When did you first buy a home?
This was the first one, 1942.
Really? Okay, you were still young. 30,
Yeah.
31 years
Yeah,
old.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember what you paid for this house?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell me.
$1,500.
Yeah.
It was auctioned off. It was, in fact, one of the Stellines owned this house at one time.
Is that so? Okay. And you were saying it's
Charlie.
an old house?
Hmm.
It's an old house, you were saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would think around 130 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which of the Stellines owned it?
Charlie
Charlie.
Stelline.
Yeah.
Or Jim Brown. A fellow by the name of Jim Brown had the house built, and he lived here. And when he died, well, his widow married this Charlie Stelline,
I see.
and they lived here.
Wow.
And they, after they died, the blacksmith, C. Forterio, bought it.
Yeah.
And him and his wife, they lived here till they died, and then they auctioned the place off, and I put a bid of $1,500 on it, and I got it.
Wow.
But,
What changes have you made to it, if any?
oh, none really,
No.
outside of, fixing it up inside. But, never been a child born in this house. None
Never
of
in its whole history.
none of them had children. Not one of them.
Isn't that fascinating? Yeah.
It's the fourth owner,
Yeah.
and none of us had children.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Some of the people we interview, we say, where you're born, they say, right in that room right there.
Yeah, no, well,
It's amazing.
I can't do that.
When Weymouth was a bustling community when you were still a boy, what role did the company store play in the lives of the people who worked in the mills?
Well, that would be George Hankson's store, wouldn't
Yeah.
it? Well, they lived the people that worked for him. They took most of the things out of the store. There was very little cash changed hands them days.
Uh-huh.
very little.
Do you remember people here trading with people out from the neck for fish and stuff?
Yeah,
Was that obviously a certain time of year that was happening?
in the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you remember?
Burpee and his father Arthur and Noel Ben and them kids, they used to all come up here to Weymouth and trade fish for dry fish, you know, in bundles,
Yeah.
50-pound. Yeah, I think they were 25-pound bundles, I guess they were. Dry fish for vegetables.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people from down in the Digby Neck and the islands that used to come around. They used to come to Digby and come down to Weymouth and around different places. They all had their spots, you know, where they would come each fall.
Yeah.
They had nice dry fish too.
Yeah.
I wish I could get some now.
Indeed. Yeah. When they came over, this would be your cousins coming from the island.
Yeah.
Would you have a little visit with them?
Oh yes, they'd always come visit us. Oh, always.
How long would they stay?
Well, they stay a couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how often would you see them?
Not very often. Only about once a year. Them days.
Yeah.
You know. We had no way of getting down to the island. That was a long way away.
Yeah. Can you remember getting a telephone, or was there always a telephone in your lifetime?
Oh, there was always a telephone in my lifetime.
Yeah.
We didn't have one, but
Okay. Yeah.
they were a luxury them days.
That's so. Yeah.
There was very few phones. Now everybody has them.
Oh, everybody has 4 or 6.
Yeah. You know, I think I got 4 of them in the house here too. But
How about electricity?
well, electricity only came in. I think electricity only came in the 20s,
Okay. Yeah.
sometime in the 20s.
Mhm.
I don't know just what year. I think it was in the 20s.
What difference do you remember it making in your life?
None really.
Is that so? Yeah.
No. We couldn't afford electricity for many years.
I see. Yeah. Just want to ask you something about that. Were the Stellines considered well-off people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they had. The boys, they all rode nice horses, you know,
Yeah.
and rode in and out from France. That's the way they used to travel, by horseback.
Right.
And they were considered well-off, very well-off people.
Was there a part of Weymouth where the better-off people lived?
I suppose more or less, not too much.
No. Where would that part have been if there was?
Well, it would be like, you know, with the bank and well, from there,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
up along there, most of the merchants and like that, they lived up along there.
Yeah. Still some lovely homes up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, Weymouth. I find Weymouth a very nice little village.
Yes, it used to be a whole lot nicer.
Is that so, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you were young, how often would you see Micmacs?
Well, there used to be 1, 2, 3 families of Micmacs lived just down, just down here. It would be, I suppose, St. Bernard.
Okay.
It's in on the Ohio Road.
Right. What was their
By the
family
crossing there. They were Charles was the last name of one family. What were the others? Joe.
You can remember his first name, yeah.
Yeah, I can remember his first name, but I can't remember his last name.
What is
It come to me after a while.
For
you know.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's some of the muses and potters.
there's still one the Micmacs live down in St. Bernard.
Is there?
Which, his name. Yeah,
It'll come to
isn't
you.
that awful?
Yeah.
I've a hard time remembering names.
Yes. Me too.
That's one thing I can't seem to.
Except if it's your dog or your cat, I'll remember it for 5 years. Don't ask me why.
Yeah, yeah. Clark Charles.
Clark Charles.
Yeah,
Those are the people that still live there.
yeah.
Yeah.
He lives down St. Bernard there.
Oh,
Yeah,
kind of lonely.
yeah, yeah.
Well, what have I not asked you about that's important yet for kids to know, do you think, Kip? About, comparing your day to now.
Well, I can tell you I've seen a good many changes.
Yes.
A good many changes. If the world changes as much in the next 50 years as it has in the last 50 years, it should be quite a world.
For better or for worse?
Well, that's a good question. I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah, we're making some gains, but I think we're losing a few things too,
I think so.
Yeah. Well, I've gone through my list. I thank you very
Well,
much.
you're welcome. You,
I'd like to get a photograph of you just while you're sitting there, though, if that would be all right.
yeah, sure.
Okay.